Hey kids, this discussion is a continuation of last week's discussion about the opening few sentences of Steinbeck's little story, The Chrysanthemums. I wasn't surprised to find that some of you expressed that you found this exercise hard, and I wanted to make a response to that. It's not hard, and what your feelings are really a symptom of the sort of literalist mindset that is slowly but surely sucking the life out of our ability to imagine. So let me explain what I just said. When a writer uses a simile, says something is like something else, that's designed to help us and trigger our imagination. It's not designed to control our imagination. It's designed to trigger imagination. So you see something is like a lid on a pot, and unless it turns out to be an actual pot sitting on a stove with a lid on it, with presumably something boiling inside of it, for a literalist, that's all it possibly can be, and if it isn't that, it's devoid of meaning and useless. That's the fundamentalist frame of mind that I talked about earlier on. On the other hand, a simile or a metaphor like that, and why it's a simile is because it says something is like something else. It's similar to something else. So on the other hand, to think that it could possibly mean anything at all doesn't help either. That's also really devoid of usefulness, because a simile is designed to guide and somewhat limit the imagination, but not to control the imagination. For instance, I can't think of a lid on a pot and then have to my mind come the images of butterflies dancing in my garden. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't attach to the simile. In fact, there's no similarity whatsoever to a lid on a pot and butterflies dancing in my garden. So it's an outlandish, ridiculous simile that wouldn't work. And if a professional writer worked it out that way, they wouldn't be a professional writer for very long. So a simile is designed to guide our imagination along a relatively limited number of possibilities, and most of you figured that out. And I will submit to you that's not hard. That's what you do every day. You take a look at your situation, your environment, and you speculate about how things might go, and then you watch to see if they work out the way you've expected. And sometimes you're surprised when they do, and sometimes you're surprised when they don't. You're going to vote for a president in a little bit, I hope. Most of you are going to vote. And you're going to speculate about how that might go if A or B gets elected, and then you get to watch whether your speculations work out. So what I'm suggesting to you is that the speculations that a writer sets up at the very beginning of a story have a few limited possibilities of ways they might work out, and that's designed to help and trigger and guide our imaginations as readers, so that we don't insist upon a literal interpretation, but we don't go off into left field in some crazy interpretations that have no connection whatsoever, but we find the middle way of reasonable possibilities of the way this thing works out, or might work out, and then we get to watch and see if it does work out that way. So, if you found it hard, I'm going to invite you to go back and think about, was it really hard, or were you either limiting yourself to a completely literal interpretation or some outlandish interpretation, or did, the 4 or 5 or 3 possible ways that image could work itself out, of those, then if you went ahead and read the story, you might be surprised at how it works out or doesn't work out. But I don't think that kind of thing is hard, because it's something we do every day of our lives. In literature, it's a different way of doing the same thing, but you're already very good at doing this. If you've lived to be 18 years old, you've been doing this ever since you could talk. You're good at it. It's just you're not used to applying it to literature, but it works exactly the same way. And I will suggest to you that literature is actually much easier and less complicated than life. So if you can do it in life, you just translate the same skill to literary analysis. A simile means something, probably not a literal interpretation, or it wouldn't be a simile, but it also can't mean anything. It means something defined within the very narrow limits of what a lid on a pot, for instance, could mean. And there's a limited number of things it could mean. You don't know which it means until you read the story and work it out. And that wasn't the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise was to get us to speculate and use our imagination. Because that's where the joy and the real pleasure of literature comes, is the imagining along with the writer how things could go, and then seeing how the writer's imagination works that out, and seeing if that's how your imagination might have worked it out or not. That's what that exercise was about. So I want to suggest to you, if you found it hard, you might have been thinking about it the wrong way. There may be another way to think about it that would make it easy and fun and imaginative. Again, in our culture, in my opinion, our imaginations are slowly and gradually being restricted until finally they will die. And learning to examine metaphors and similes in this way is one way of fighting against that impulse. So there's my little video. I'm going to upload one other little piece from a movie, and then I'm going to invite you to discuss in this discussion. There are no right or wrong answers, but it is a required discussion. Thanks, bye.